Ooh, my God. Larry Elder bodied the Breakfast Club, you guys, in a masterclass performance of what truth looks like when it collides with gross ignorance. This was next level. This interview was good. It was good simply because Larry Elder dismantled the foolishness and this narrative that's constantly pushed through mainstream media, black media, as it relates to social media, right? And left-wing media. You guys, it's disgusting, right? The Breakfast Club has turned into the black version of The View, right? At this point, it's bad. It's bad. And it's sad to see them treat people that they do not agree with, right? Conservatives. Now, mind you, people ask for my political preferences. You guys, I'm an independent, and one of the big things that's the biggest problem with the black community, and Larry Elder touches on it. He doesn't quite say it the way I'm about to say it, but unfortunately, black people, too many of us, vote based off of skin color and not off of policy. That is our issue. We see color in everything. It's these Crayola justice warriors, especially you're going to hear in this interview with the Breakfast Club. This was so embarrassing. And they are, again, this has been a consistent trend with the Breakfast Club. We've seen it recently when they interviewed Vivek Ramaswamy, who's also a presidential candidate. The disrespect and lack of professionalism shown by them was appalling, you guys. And they do it again. They do it again. And it's so hypocritical because they don't do this with other candidates that are liberal or Democrats. But luckily, Larry Elder put on a masterclass performance, assassinating these clowns with truth. Charlamagne, we know how he gets down. Donkey of the century. We're going to cover it, you guys. We're going to cover it. He completely annihilated his talking points. DJ Envy thought he was going to step up and say a couple things. Completely got dismissed. And this Neanderthal, what's her name? Tez? Jesus Christ, you guys. Where'd they find this ghetto hood rat at and put her on the media? I don't know. There's nothing worse than a hood rat that's educated. They are the worst, you guys. They're the worst. She is the embodiment of an angry black woman. Her representation on this, on the Breakfast Club, is a disgrace to black women, disgrace to black people. Her performance, her behavior was appalling, you guys. She's an imbecile. And at the end of the day, when we see this performance that she's giving, it's disrespectful, it's belittling, and she has zero regard for the guest. And again, I saw this disgusting performance she did with Vivek Ramaswamy. Listen, if you don't like somebody, that's one thing. But the way you attack people, it's just, man, she's filthy, you guys. She's filthy. But we're going to cover that. Tez, I don't know who hired you. Obviously, they believe that you're good for the ratings. And honestly, you're really destroying the image of the Breakfast Club as if it needed any help. But this lady right here, again, nothing worse than an educated ghetto hood rat. And that's exactly what she displayed. But anyways, let's dive into the Breakfast Club. I'm going to play a couple clips and we're going to try to see if we don't get copyright struck. But I will say fair use. Before we get into that, you guys, Larry Elder came on here and he represented. And he spoke some things. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. The Breakfast Club, they provided some pushback. I know there's people who are going to provide some pushback even under this video. Bless your heart. You are more than welcome to come up here and debate me on these topics. I will crush these foolish talking points that are pervasive through the black community about how racism is keeping black people down. That's a lie, and it's a lie from the pit of hell, you guys. So let's talk about it. Larry Elder began his discussion talking about the problems within the black community, right? He's talking about what he's running for, the things that he's standing for within the presidential race. And he starts off by saying the biggest issue in America, referring to everybody, Americans, that's black, white, Asian, Hispanic. If you're an American citizen, you're an American in this country, you guys. All right, let's not get it twisted. The biggest issue facing Americans in this country is fatherless homes, fatherlessness, absent fathers. This is a problem. And it hits the black community harder than it does any other community. That's a fact. So he's talking about those statistics, and he's referencing how the out of wedlock births in the Black community is astronomically high compared to those of the 60s and beyond. So what is the number at? Apparently it's approximately 70% of children are born out of wedlock. Now we all know, for those who don't know, there's a distinction between out of wedlock births and whether or not fathers are present in the home or not in the home. Those are two different statistics. He's referring to fatherless homes and referring to out of wedlock births. These are still, regardless, it is a problem. It's still a factor. It still matters, right? Why? Because they can correlate this with outcome. They're talking about what is the outcome of having fatherless homes. You're talking about a rise in suicide, a rise in delinquency, an increase in incarceration rates, right? There's a correlation to this: depression, anxiety. So these things are real. When you look at human trafficking, when you're looking at prostitution, when you're looking at drug usage, all these, when they did the research behind this, you could see a correlation to what? A broken home. So he's saying that the power of a nuclear family is the key to repairing a lot of social issues in America, i.e. especially the Black community. That is a fact. So then, of course, Charlamagne, in all of his infinite ignorance, decides he wants to combat that. And what does he say? He says something that's very disrespectful and is disingenuous. And he says it in a way to try to insinuate that Larry Elder has a particular love for white people than he does for Black people. This shaming, insult, guilt, right? Shout out to Kevin Samuels, the sign language, right? You want to shame and insult and guilt someone, try to make them feel bad for having an opinion that contradicts how you feel or what you believe. And so what do? This is something that's very prevalent in the Black community, where if you say something that they think is not quote unquote Black enough, when you say something that they believe doesn't coincide with the hive mindset of Black people, then all of a sudden you are then isolated and removed from being Black, i.e. your Black card is taken. So what does he say? He asks Larry Elder, he said, well, what do white people do wrong? Right? Because you have all this to say about Black people. What do white people do wrong? And he's like, what are you talking about? Right? What are you talking about? That's such a disingenuous question, and again, let me play that clip real quick. Hopefully they don't strike it down, but I want you to hear how he phrases this as he's talking about issues in the Black community. I'm gonna tell you why this is a problem. Because unfortunately, every time someone wants to critique or constructive criticize Black issues, then we want to try and shame or insult that Black person for doing so. And what ends up ultimately happening is that the community or those issues never get addressed or corrected because of that, because that person then is pushed away from dealing with that. They do that in order to discourage you from addressing the real core issues that are impacting the Black community. These guys are chaos agents, and they are put in a position to do this, to keep people psychologically in chains. That's what this is all about. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. Malcolm X talked about it plain as day. You guys, it's still living out to this day. And the bad actors within the Black community are so obvious. And the moment you try to speak a level of truth, the moment you try to constructive criticize these issues that need to be addressed, you're called a name, you're called a sellout, you're called a coon, you're called an Uncle Tom. You guys, and guess what? A lot of Black people are like, I don't care. I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to speak the truth. So, and this is what happens. You have someone who is crafty in the art of psychological warfare. This is what he says to Larry Elder.
Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong, Larry Elder?
What do you mean, what do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about what's going on with us.
But if there's systemic racism in this country, which we know it is.
No, I don't say there is. You say there is. I don't believe that.
Oh, you don't believe this?
No, there used to be, obviously. Tell me what you think the number one systemic example of systemic racism is in America.
Oh man, there's so many.
Just
name one.
Important one.
Yeah. At the top of mind, I'll probably maybe mass incarceration.
False.
Really?
False. Mass incarceration is not systemic racism. Listen, this is what I'm talking about. So, oh my God, you got to watch this interview because obviously it's an hour long. I can't cover all of it. So what is he saying? He says, what do white people do wrong? Listen, we're all human. We all do something wrong, right? That's a disingenuous question that he asked. He was trying to throw him off and it failed. He said, listen, I'm talking about black folks. Right now we're talking about black issues and repairing black issues. Let's focus on that. And so he says mass incarceration. That's a lie. Larry Elder checks them and he explains to them, and this is, Lord have mercy. Tez gets in. Tez, this woman is an abomination. Okay, she's an abomination. Bless her heart. Bless her heart. Whew. Whoever she goes home to. Like, brother, hey, man, power to you, man. We praying for you, okay? You know what the problem is? The reality is we know how black people got here, right? We're talking about through slavery, through systemic issues, racism, white supremacy, all the whole 9 yards. Yes, we know how we got here. What Larry Elder is trying to tell people, and what I always tell people, yes, this is how we got here. That is not the reason why we are still here, right? And a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that. You know, a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that there has been progress. Some people are stuck in 1860. This is a fact. And it's not just black people. White people stuck there too, you know? And so again, they are using these tactics to control people emotionally in order to use them politically. That's a fact. That's a fact. Shout out to Pearl. She tried to explain it to everybody and folks blew up on her. All right. Again, it's a sad game. It's a sad game, but that's the truth. People are using racism because it's profitable, right? So Teslin gets in, she gets to yippity yapping, and she goes off on a tangent. Larry Elder brings up a lot of crime that's taking place in a lot of these inner cities. The mass shoplifters that are running in 30 deep, tearing up these stores, stealing all kinds of stuff. He's saying the majority of them are black, right? He's talking about the crime that's going on in inner cities. Charlamagne creates a false equivalency, and then he brings up, well, white people are doing mass shootings, you know. And granted, I cover this type of thing all the time on my channel, you guys. The reality is, one, white people are like 60% of the population. White people commit more crime overall than black people. The issue is that black people represent such a small percentage of the population, and yet we are overrepresented in the amount of crime that we commit. The issue is black people disproportionately commit more crime than white people, though white people represent more of the population. So, you know, they're going back and forth with this. They talk about violent crime. They talk about shootings and homicides. Black people disproportionately commit more homicide. I think it's approximately 10 to 11,000 a year compared to white people. We commit more homicide. Not only that, our top leading cause of death is homicide. Whereas the top leading cause of death, or one of the top leading cause of death for white people or white males, is accidents, right? They die more by accident, but you see the stuff white folks like to do on their free time, right? Jumping off of stuff, cartwheeling off of mountains, right? So of course, what do black people do? Unfortunately, we're out here trigger happy in neighborhoods and communities, killing each other. So again, yeah, it's different. It's different. And so the data reflects that, according to the CDC. That wasn't good enough for Charlamagne. Charlamagne then comes back and he's talking about, well, we build and then white people destroy. Well, they bring up Tulsa, Oklahoma. What's the reality? Normally, that's the only thing the average black person talks about is Tulsa, Oklahoma. You talk to some who really know the history, they know that there was multiple cities that were in communities that were destroyed by white people and racist people during that time. But they always talk about Tulsa. They always say Black Wall Street. The reality is Black Wall Street was rebuilt just a few years after it was taken down. It was destroyed. Even the government was involved in that. There's witnesses who were still alive who were sharing the story saying that the military was involved and they eviscerated the entire city and the community. So granted, yes, no one is saying that those things did not happen. So again, we get to talking about what needs to change. We get to talking about what things need to be implemented. And what do people do? They then revert back to the past and say, well, because of this that happened 100 years. Tulsa was 100 years ago, you guys. That was like 100 years ago. And yet that is still being used as a justified excuse as to why we cannot do something today. That's the problem. That's the problem. And it's not that we're not acknowledging the past, it's that we're using the past to dictate why we can't do something in the future. That's the problem. You know, people say victim Olympics, people say, we're playing victim. When someone consistently tells you a lie you tend to believe it. That's the problem. And then now when you have people like myself or Larry Elder that wants to come and bring truth to the conversation, you don't want to accept it. Why is that? Because it's easier to chew lies than it is to swallow the truth, right? We all know that. It doesn't feel good. The truth makes us feel uncomfortable. But over here on this channel, you guys, we do what? Facts over feelings. Get your feelings out of it. Because again, at the end of the day, the truth is going to set you free. DJ Envy jumps into the conversation and he starts talking about, oh, but we don't got no money. The black banks don't exist. Black people aren't getting loans for homes and we're not doing this. Envy, you over here, you're on borderline scam territory. You got stuff going on right now with real estate. Sir, you probably should just been quiet the entire conversation and just let these guys go at it, right? You should just let Charlamagne and the buffoon chick Tez go at it and you should just stay out of it, brother, because you are already in shaky territory, all right, with real estate. You know, and that's the problem with the Breakfast Club. Y'all have brought on some suspicious characters who have questionable financial transaction behavior lately in the black community. Dr. Umar Johnson and his damn near 15-year trying to create a school. Who knows how much money? The man had a cease and desist on raising fund. I mean, like, come on. You had, what's the other guy? Jay Morrison. He's selling the Black House. Come on, man. You gotta stop it. Stop it. Y'all producing too many scammers on this show. So anyways, all right, where are we? So DJ Envy talks about black people not being able to get funding. Again, people want to live so bad in the 1920s. What's the reality, you guys? When I was 20 years old, I bought my first house. You know how I did it? I followed the instructions, right? My credit score, I saved my money, I had a deposit. I looked for a home and then I bought it. It was that easy. It's that easy. You know, the problem is we want to we give white people too much credit, right? We want to blame everything on white people and it's just not the truth, right? A lot of it is us. And Larry talks about, he said, look, the majority of these problems that we have are self-inflicted. And you know what Charlamagne says? He said, do you think slavery was self-inflicted? No, imbecile. Of course not. Again, another attempt to make a false equivalency. And you know that's not what he meant. But that's the dangers with people who are liberal-minded. Unfortunately, they have an agenda that they're trying to push. You know exactly he didn't mean that, but that's what you're trying to sell the people. You sell an emotional ignorance to our people, and they suck it up. They suck it up, man. And that's the problem. So the truth of the matter is black people are doing extremely well. They are. And granted, yes, we have people in the black community that aren't doing well. We have people in the black community living below the poverty line. Those things need to change. But what did Larry talk about? What did he point out? He pointed out the fact that a lot of this has to do with policies that's going on in these local cities and counties, right, in these states, where we are voting for the people who are putting these policies that are actually hurting and crippling our communities. This is also a fact. Tez jumps in and she starts doing the black girl thing, right? The mad black girl who's struggling to get her shit together and got a lot to say, but ain't saying nothing at all, right? She's running the mouth. And you can see Larry like, if this, you know, he does this thing where he don't even want to look at her. He said, this hoe don't shut up, right? Everything that came out of her mouth was just rooted and saturated in pure ignorance. And to hear it, I swear to God, my eardrums were bleeding listening to her talk. I started to get nauseous listening to her. Unfortunately, she's the type of black woman that a lot of men complain about. That's what you see often within our community, that naggity nag. Her voice, this woman is insufferable to listen to. And for those who watch the interview, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The ones that pretend they know everything or know more than you, they think they're more educated. They think they're saying something that sounds smart. They try to be funny. Oh, her sarcasm, her disrespect, embarrassing. Nothing worse than an educated hood rat. That's Tez for you. I don't know why she's on the show. But anyway, she belongs on The View. I think she would do better on The View, to be honest. Get rid of Whoopi and put Tez on. Whew, Lord have mercy. Anyways, so Tez jumps in. She adds her irrelevant 2 cents. Can't even cover it because I could barely She was too busy trying to insult than to actually have a debate and a discussion, right? What did I hate about this whole thing with the Breakfast Club? They didn't even get a chance to even ask him questions about policy that he would want to implement as him running for president, things he wanted to focus on. They were too busy attacking him. This was an attack, right? This was an attempt to try to assassinate his character, alienate him amongst black people, right? You know what? I spoke to a guy who ran for political office. He was in political office. He was a mayor in a city, and he was a Democrat. And you know what he told me, you guys? He said that black people are so politically ignorant that it is appalling. He said that all he had to do was tell black folks that the Republicans that he was running against was racist, and they believed it. Right? He said even though they weren't, and he knew they weren't, he simply had to say that, and we believed it. That's the problem, you guys. We vote based off of color, skin color, not policy. And the moment you hear that person's racist and they're white, all of this shuts off. The brain shuts off, and then we go into autopilot. We go into autopilot. And guess what? A lot of these Democrats who run for political office, they just run Democrat because they know it's easier to win black votes. Easy. You know? So it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So Larry talks about that. You know, Envy talks about banks not giving money, not enough black banks. You guys, we have black banks. We have a lot of black banks. I think we have over like 34 black banks. We have things that we do not support. That's our fault. That's nobody else's. I know right now, those who are watching, a lot of you guys don't even put your money in black banks. I know that for a fact. And I interview people on my channel all the time. I debate them all the time, and they can't name one black bank that they support. And they always on some black power activist type shit. Miss me, you guys, miss me with it. Because at the end of the day, these things are here and we're not putting our money into it. And then we turn around and complain when we don't get the outcomes we want. This comes from proper budgeting, financial literacy. People want to blame that and say it's the white person's fault. You know, no, I disagree, you guys, because we know how to spend money. We know how to spend money. So again, this is the problem that I have. We want to blame all the bad choices that we make and say a white person's responsible for it. It's like, damn, you know, well, I feel sorry for y'all white folks, but y'all can't catch a break. So I want to touch on some major points. So Charlamagne asked this great question, said, why should black people vote for you? You know, we're like 30 minutes into the interview. Finally, he asked a question that was actually, you know, pertaining to him and him running for president. Larry said, because I tell the truth. That was the coldest answer. And he's right. He said black people need to hear the truth. Man, we're so accustomed to being lied to that the lies feel more like the truth because it brings us comfort. I believe that when we start having conversations that make us uncomfortable is when we'll start seeing a more positive change. And what else? Man, this is such a good interview. Larry just killed it, man. You know, they asked him about his father. He gave a powerful statement about his father. I'm actually going to play that because I think this is so important to cover just in general. You know, he's like, listen, man, we don't have to accept this narrative that we are less than because of our skin color and that this mythical system is keeping us down because that's not true. You know, and so I love what he said about what his father told him. I'm going to play that clip real quick and we're going to say fair use.
You're a conservative, right? Obviously.
No question.
What initially made you gravitate towards being a conservative?
I think it was my father. My father was a lifelong Republican, and my father always told my brothers and me the following. Democrats want to give you something for nothing. When you try to get something for nothing, you almost always end up getting nothing for something. And my dad, I told you about his background. He told my brothers and me that hard work wins. You get out of life what you put into it. You cannot control the outcome, Larry, but you are 100% in control of the effort. Before you moan or groan about what somebody did or said to you, go to the nearest mirror, look at it, and ask yourself, what could I have done to change the outcome? And finally, Charlamagne, my dad told my brothers and me this. No matter how hard you work, how good you are, sooner or later, bad stuff is going to happen to you. How you deal with those bad things will tell your mother and me if we raised a man. I wrote a book about my father's life. It's called Dear Father, Dear Son, 2 Lives, 8 Hours. It's about an 8-hour conversation.
Bars. Whew. I mean, that is, if that's not accountability, I don't know what is. That to me was the key moment in this interview That right there is what it means to be accountable. Take responsibility for your kids, raise them with integrity, put some values and substance in these children, and then send them out in the world to do good. And if they mess up, yes, there's a good chance it's a reflection on your parenting. Not all cases, in most cases, yeah. And so that was such an elegant response to that question. I love it. I love it. Powerful. What else did they talk about? I got one more clip to show y'all, but what else did they talk about in this?
I'm going to tell you about this system if you allow me to finish my point.
I'm not talking about somebody elected and doing a job, sir. I asked what system did we create? What financial
Okay, let's talk about the system of one of the largest.
Let him say his point,
Thank you.
sir.
One of the systems of one of the largest cities in America, Baltimore. Freddie Gray died in police custody a few years ago. The mayor was black. The head of the police department was black. Number two.
It's not in charge of the system, but go ahead.
Number two person in charge of the police department was black.
Still not in charge of the
all
system.
of city council, Democrats, majority.
Let
black.
the man talk.
Still not in charge of the system.
Wow.
That's a position.
Six officers charged, 3 of them were black. A judge before whom 2 of the officers tried their case found him not guilty was black.
Still not in charge of the system.
The city intendant of public schools was black. The county superintendent of public schools is black. The attorney general at the time, Loretta Lynch, is black, as was the president of the United States, was black. And yet,
Still not in charge of the system.
who's in charge
I
of
asked
the
you a
system,
simple
Ted?
question, sir.
Well, Wanda Sykes said when Barack Obama got elected, how are you going to complain about the man when you are the man? Now, from the president to the attorney general to the state attorney to the mayor to the head of the police department to the commission of the schools in the city and in the county to the majority of city council in that city, all of them are black. And you're still saying that we don't run anything?
So who's in charge of the
No,
system,
no,
Ted?
no. I said who created the system. I didn't say we didn't run anything. I challenged a lot of those black leaders, by the way. I said when we talk about the system, what black people have been in charge of any system. I'm not talking about a position. I'm not talking about a mayor. You know good and well what I'm talking about.
You're basically
Mr.
saying
Elder.
that they're black faces that are still in those
Correct.
positions, but they're still being
Correct.
part
Similar
of the
to you, Mr.
system.
Elder. You're a black face in a position in the conservative movement. They're just the same. They're just on the other side. I'm talking about
So then when Martin Luther King said in 1966, I believe there could be a black president in about 40 years' time, then it really doesn't matter whether there's one or isn't. One, because nothing changed.
And this is the problem with black folks, right, who think like her, is that you're never satisfied. There's never a real answer. There's never a solution, because no matter what you do, nothing is good enough, because the answer to them is always white people are going to keep you back, right? The system, this invisible thing, is going to hold you down. You guys, they operate with this mentality of weakness, of inferiority. Too many black people who think like this operate in the mindset. They have an inferiority complex. That's the problem. And what is he saying? He's saying you can have all these people, from the mayor to the county commissioners to the board of commissioners. I mean, every political person, and all through levels of government, that are black, that are making decisions for these communities, for these cities, for these counties, for the state. And what she's saying, it doesn't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter who's black or whatever. No, the difference is between racism, systemic racism, and plain old corruption. What she's talking about and what she's conflating is that corrupt black people are in positions of power and they're not doing their job. They're not doing their job. That's what the issue is. It has nothing to do with racism. It has everything to do with greed. You guys, I've worked for a county where black people have been in charge from top to bottom, from the police department all the way up to the top to the CEO of the county, and corruption has tainted them all. Okay, so again, it wasn't racism. It was, I want to do what I want to do. I want to take money. Man, we had one recently, a mayor of a new city, in a black city, Stonecrest. And the FBI had to go and holler at him because he was taking COVID money that he was supposed to be giving out to the people and giving out to churches, and he pocketed over millions of dollars, and the FBI came and scooped him and his wife up. He was a black man in a leadership, the highest form of leadership in the city, and he failed the people. It had nothing to do with racism. It had everything to do with greed. And so what she's talking about, because she's an imbecile, she doesn't know what she's talking about. But yet she's going to spew this racist rhetoric because she knows that's what moves black people, that we move off of emotion and not on logic. So Larry is saying, listen, we've had plenty of people, we continue to have plenty of black people in leadership, and they are doing a poor job. It has nothing to do with racism. It has nothing to do with white people. That's what's so disgusting with people like her. They are a poison to the black community. A poison. And what does he say? You hear how she's interrupting him? Oh my God, man. Whew, I can't stand to hear her voice. She's just, I just can't take it. I can't take it, man. And you could see Larry, he's just like, oh my God, this chick. He's like, wow. Wow, it's embarrassing. You ever get secondhand embarrassment? This is embarrassing, you know? And the fact that they're just sitting around letting this happen, it's wild, man. And nobody checked her. Of course, why would they? Right? She has black privilege. Why? Black feminist privilege. Why would they check her? But listen to this.
He was naive. He was naive.
Killed him as well. Well, we know that the FBI and the CIA also killed him. That system. You realize that, correct?
Wow. An individual killed him.
Right. That was also a part of Pro Hotel through the system.
Hotel Pell?
Not correct.
Hotel Pro.
Not correct.
Damn.
So the FBI
Ghetto hood rat.
The CIA didn't have anything to do with it.
Who was definitely on Martin's ass. Like, come on.
I didn't say he wasn't. Robert Kennedy is the one that approved the wiretaps. But to say that the FBI killed him, I mean, what's your evidence of that? That's a pretty serious charge.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Pretty serious charge.
Yeah.
Serious charge
Yeah,
requires serious
about the
evidence.
Yeah.
What is your
Mr.
enforcement
Elder,
law proposal?
So now you're going to see this clash, another clash between Larry Elder and this damn hood rat Tez. And this is so cringe. It's so embarrassing. It's like secondhand embarrassment, right? Like I'm watching it and I'm in disbelief. The level of unprofessionalism, how tacky, how disrespectful, and even how degrading this statement was, and how racist and misogynistic this statement was. You know, some people think it's funny, but there's a time and a place, right? There's a time and a place. And again, we're having these real serious, in-depth conversations, and Charlamagne wants to be a $2 comedian. And then not only that, he says this, not only is it disrespectful to Larry Elder and who he is as a man, it's also disrespectful to Tez. And Tez came with the mouth of a dragon, bringing all the smoke to Larry Elder, and you would think that she would feel a little insulted based on the statement that Charlamagne made. But of course, she has to stay in her place because even she is a puppet in this damn puppet show. So anyway, let me play it. This is embarrassing.
You said I didn't leave the recall to the voters.
No. I said you moaned and groaned about it. You said it should be recalled, correct? Correct?
I said Gavin Newsom should have been recalled, yes.
Right, that's moaning and groaning.
Well, actually, it's taking advantage of what's in the California Constitution, which is when a certain percentage
She's a damn
of voters
idiot.
sign a petition to recall a politician, there can be a recall vote, and there was one, as there was in 2003. We recalled the governor then, and there was in 2021 when I attempted to recall Gavin Newsom. That's part of our democratic process in California.
Absolutely. We agree with that. I'm going to your statement when you said rather than moan about it. A little while ago, you said rather than moan about it, I'm just going to keep doing the hard work. And so I'm just saying that technically is moaning about it because the governor's decided.
I don't follow exactly what you're saying. I really don't.
It's okay. I didn't expect you to. Yeah, but it's one moment.
I'm a little slow
one
sometimes.
moment.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
One moment you're complaining about the system, and the next minute you're saying the system is fair. The next minute you're saying it's not fair. So that's what I'm saying. There just seems to be a double standard on you and the system, not wanting to be accountable for a system that black people are not in charge of, by the way, of not wanting to hold both sides accountable when it comes to the system.
Do I believe Hillary was treated differently and Joe Biden treated differently than Donald Trump is being treated? Yes, I do. Is that an indictment about whether or not America is systemically racist? No, it is not.
Excellent
They're two
answer.
totally
Two
different
different
things.
things. Yes,
You're
yes, they
trying
are.
to merge the two, but they're two totally different things.
I agree with you.
But
They're two
it's
different
still the
things.
system.
No,
It is
no,
still-
we're
it is still the
agreeing. We're
system.
agreeing. They're two different things. We're agreeing.
No, we're agreeing to two different things. We're not agreeing that there's not systematic racism because we're not in charge of the system, sir. In case you
Okay, okay, all right,
unfamiliar
all
about
right.
the
Can we-
system,
can we-
black people have never been in charge of any system. We're
Well,
not even that vein.
actually, we have been. Take Baltimore.
No, we've never been in charge of
may I
any
finish?
system. Tell me, what financial system are black people in
Okay,
charge of?
let's
What
take-
healthcare system are black people in charge of? What government system are black people in
I'm
charge of?
about ready to tell
what
you.
prison system are
I'm
black people in
I'm
charge?
about ready to tell you.
I'm not talking about mayors. I already know that talking point, sir. I go on Fox News all the time as well. So let's not go there with that. I said, what system have we created?
Goodness.
Have we implemented that we have been in charge of? Name one.
Is this why you don't like talking to black women, Larry?
Wow. Baltimore. Freddie Gray.
Wow.
a few years
No.
ago.
That's mayors. I'm not talking. I said
Wow.
system.
Did y'all catch that? Charlamagne said, "Is this why you don't like talking to black women?" Shots fired. What did he say? You guys, that's a diss to black women. What is Charlamagne saying in this moment, you guys? He's saying that this is typical black women behavior. Now, I love our black women, but unfortunately, too many. What are we dealing with? Tez is a ghetto educated hood rat, the worst of them all, the worst. And that display was an embarrassment to black women. It was an embarrassment to black people. And Charlamagne's statement, not only was that extremely disrespectful, it was extremely racist. What did he say? He just listened to Tez go off on a cringeworthy rant, disrespecting the guest, and said, "Is this why you don't date black women?" Why did he say that? Well, because Larry Elder's, I believe his ex-wife was white, but to suggest that he doesn't date black women, you don't know how many black, I'm pretty sure, maybe not. I mean, I don't know his past life, but to make that statement, that jab about him, I think that was very uncalled for. It was very tacky, poor comedic timing, bad timing. And it just wasn't appropriate, right? It just wasn't appropriate, man. That to me was just so disrespectful, so disrespectful. And Larry, man, he just handled it, man. He handled it like he took that on the chin. And what he say, he's like, "Wow, is this why you don't date black women?" Ooh, man, that was cold, boy. That was cold as ice. Larry Elder surgically dismantled the foolishness from Charlamagne. And one part, this is probably my top 3 part of this entire interview. Larry drug him with this last conversation as it relates to who? Joe Biden. Listen, I've been waiting for somebody to come and check Charlamagne on this, and I've been shocked that nobody has held this man to the carpet. No one has chin checked him on how he allowed Joe Biden to disrespect the entire black community behind that bullshit statement that he made during the elections. You guys, he said, "If you don't vote for me, you're not black." And Charlamagne allowed him to get away with that. Listen, to be honest with you, every black person should have pulled their vote. If you were voting for Biden simply because you didn't like Trump, okay, all right, whatever. That statement alone should have deactivated every black vote in America off of principle. The problem that we suffer from in the black community is a lack of pride. A lack of pride. There's no way anybody else would have let him get away with that. Absolutely not. Charlamagne, being Charlamagne, always has smoke for everybody else he doesn't like. And he lets Joe Biden get away with that. That right there, in that moment, you guys, I knew right then and there that Charlamagne was a puppet. I started seeing the strings attached to him. And I knew right then and there that he had no other choice but to let that ride. He had to let it go. He could not address it. He is never afraid to call people out. But Joe Biden can't bite the hand that feeds you. He let it slide. Larry systematically bodied the Breakfast Club. And this right here sealed the deal, you guys. This was epic. This right here was epic. I love the way he called him to the carpet, chin-checked him on the issue, and used his own rhetoric against Charlamagne. You guys, this was flawless. This right here was flawless. Let me play this last clip. They gonna copyright strike. I don't even give a damn. Let's play it. All right, where we at? What's the timestamp?
I know you probably got to go. Have you ever heard of the term nigga wake up call?
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
Oh, brother.
I'm just asking.
Well, I'm acutely aware, Charlamagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, you don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump, it seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. This guy coming here and insult you, a black man, and tell you got to think a certain kind of way. I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
I'm not gonna say that it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean? I don't tend to get upset over things like that. But what I did say,
well, you just not talk about a nigga wake up.
Got him. Come on, Larry, dropping bombs on him. He said that should have been your nigga wake up call, right? You trying to come at me, bro? You let Joe Biden disrespect you beyond belief. Not just you, the entire black race, the entire black American population. You let that happen. That should have been your wake-up call. That's what Larry did. You guys, that's just fatality, brother. That right there is next level. Next level checkmate. Flawless victory. Larry Elder, I love it, man. Man, let me keep going. But this is what I'm talking about. He has no response to that. Of course he doesn't, right? Look at him. He's like, well, I try not to let it upset me. Nah, fool, you got played. Charlamagne, donkey of the century, right? That's a fact. You allowed him to play you on your platform, and you didn't do anything about it because you couldn't, because you have no integrity, and you're not in it, right? You're not really about black empowerment. You're about pocket empowerment. You're about green supremacy. All this, man, that's what I'm saying, man. These guys are clowns, man. They're clowns.
Because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, going to put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you aren't even black and let you think a certain kind of way. It seems to me that should have been a nigga wake-up call for you, but it wasn't, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, no, for the record,
Come on, Larry. My God. Listen, right on time. That's what I'm talking about. It should have been a wake-up call, not just to you, Charlamagne, to all of y'all. Because some of y'all still riding for Biden after that. That right there, you riding for Biden after that, I don't care what Trump did. You have no pride. Absolutely no. There's no way. No way, you guys. No way. Oof. Cold, boy.
I'm not a Democrat either.
I didn't say you were. I don't know what you are. I never even asked.
Don't even matter what you are. You let them disrespect.
And to have a white guy come in here and tell you have to think a certain kind of way, otherwise you, quote, ain't black. Wow.
How should I have replied to him, you think?
What I just now said, how dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person? I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump if I want to vote for Donald Trump. And if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not black.
Facts.
Black people, black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not black now? So only 80% of black men walking around are really black. 20% are not because they voted for Donald Trump.
Get 'em.
How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
Oh my God.
I mean, you're probably right, but I didn't take it.
You're probably right. No, he is right, clown, goofy. He is right. Oh well, you're probably right. No, he's right, simpleton. That's the problem. He's absolutely correct, and you can't even stand on that. Coward. Shame on you. Shame on all of you. Right? Coward, man. What a coward. Oh, you're probably right. No, he's right, you imbecile. He is correct. Jeez, man, I don't even want to play no more, man. Listen, that's it, man. I don't even want to. Listen, you guys have to go and watch the entire hour, right? This is not going to do it justice, but I'm hyped. I watched it and I was like, oh, hell no. This Larry Elder systematically disemboweled the Breakfast Club, as he should have, as many others will in the future. Listen, send me to the Breakfast Club. I'm next. I'm next up. I'm going down there and I'm shutting it down. We're going to talk about criminal justice stuff. I'm shutting all that down. All of that. All that. The end. This is it, man. This is the problem, right? This is the problem. We need more people courageously to come up here and push back on this nonsense, man. This is crazy. This is crazy. You know, and Larry Elder, hats off to you, brother. Hats off. This was a masterclass performance. Ooh, man. You know, the reality is, it's when it comes to the black community, I think there's a small segment in our community that's having an issue embracing truth. And there's a quote: "It's easier to embrace a common lie than it is an unpopular truth." There's meaning to that. We have to be disciples and agents of truth. And we cannot be afraid to spread it. We can't. We need to make truth malignant within the black community. Let it spread. Let it fester. Let it infect those who are suffering from the disease of lies. You guys, that's what needs to happen. Let truth be the antidote. Let truth be the cure. Inject yourself with it. Because right now, a lot of our problems are self-inflicted. This is a fact, you guys. This is a fact. And this is not to take away from the history. This is not to take away from people who are racist, who are just evil people in general. You know, that's not to dismiss those things. You know, that'll forever be the problem. That'll forever be the reality of anywhere you go. If it's not classism, it's racism. If it's not racism, it's colorism. There is some ism that you're going to have to face. You all get up and go to Africa tomorrow and move to Africa, you're going to be battling some tribalism, depending on where you're at, or classism, depending on where you're at. You know, it's not all about skin color, you guys. So there's work to do. And there are people who are willing to do the work. And then there's adversaries. When you are an agent of truth, there are adversaries, there are puppets, and there are puppeteers, you guys, and we have to be mindful of who they are. Larry Elder just exposed 3 of them, and he did a phenomenal job at it. But we already know it's true. We already know it's true. So, listen, I'm going to end this with this, because we know it's difficult to win an argument with an intelligent person, but it is impossible to win an argument with a foolish person. And I think that is the reality of this interview, is that you had 3 foolish people trying to argue with an intelligent person. You guys, it's impossible. It's impossible. They did not come to this conversation in good faith. That's what we saw. That's what we witnessed today. But what we witnessed was a masterclass performance of an intellect who dared to challenge a toxic narrative that's been pervasive in American society and grossly pervasive in the black community. Salute to Larry Elder. Salute to those who are doing the work, who are not afraid to push back on the propaganda. And with that, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Best believe we're going to do a live on this topic, because I know people are going to be salty. And you know how I do my live streams. We do facts over feelings. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And with that, you guys, let the truth find you where the lies have left you. Good night and God bless.